On today's show, we are discussing the 5 required steps in order to launch your company.
If you've ever thought about launching a new business, this show will be great for you. Along the way, if you have any comments, please feel free to comment right below, and we'll be happy to answer them, or other members of our community that are watching this show that have successful business will be happy to answer them as well. As always, like, comment, share, subscribe along the way. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys, today we are discussing the 5 steps to launching your company.
So the reason we really thought about this topic and why we thought it was going to be very relevant is, after we kind of started our business about 10 years ago or so, we were dabbling in some business before then. We've had a lot of friends and a lot of just people in our sphere that also have businesses. Some of them have started similar to us, some started along the way. So over time, it just seems that our sphere is mostly entrepreneurs and business owners, and people are striving to kind of just do their own thing, even if they're currently, have a job. They're looking to either create a side business or create their own full-on company. So decided to come up with probably the 5 most important things to kind of get into launch mode that we're going to go over.
Yeah, for sure. And it's come up a couple times recently with 2 friends just within the past week or so, talking to us about their plans to start a company and bouncing ideas off of us. So we wanted to clarify the thoughts in those conversations a little bit, put it into a list, and hopefully you enjoy it. So let's get started. Number 1, research and decide on your business model. Couple things on this. This should be a good sized project where you're, researching what the model itself is like. I always hammer home on that. Like, don't forget about the business model. Don't just get entirely caught up in things that you're passionate about or whatever, although that's important too. No doubt, but still. The dollars and cents, what it costs to run it, everything else. Research can be talking to some competitors, all of that. Starting a company does not have to be you inventing something that doesn't exist. It can be, and that can be a huge thing, like in the tech world. But it doesn't have to be. There are many, many models out there that are great, and there's a lot less risk in something that's already proven, and scares me personally a whole lot less than trying to create like something out of nothing.
Yeah, and I certainly believe that you really can make money in any type of business, and there's an opportunity no matter what the business is, that there's ways to make money in that. Now that being said, there's a lot of business models that are significantly easier, better. The barrier of entry is a lot simpler, a lot less risky. So that also determines on your risk tolerance. But at the end of the day, you could grind a business out for 3, 4, 5, 6 years and realize, like, what, I hate this and this is dumb. I'm selling socks every day or whatever the business is that you're involved in. So there has to be some level of passion that you enjoy kind of what you're doing, because it gets to the point of, like, originally you're doing this to make money, but then it turns into much higher level types of things. So I would just say, kind of quick rule of thumb is, think of things that do interest you, start with that, and then work its way into a business. Even though, listen, there's a lot of different things inside the real estate or investing organization, and a lot of real estate investors that we know that their model, it's somewhat limited, right? And then there's some other models that are a heck of a lot easier, a lot less risk, and a lot more money you could potentially make out of that. But you'll learn that along the way, and if something doesn't work, what we all have as entrepreneurs is, we usually fail 99% of the time. So when you fail, you learn from it, and you kind of pick yourself back up, and you maybe adjust the model slightly.
Cool. All right, moving on to number 2. Determine the resources needed for your company in the short term. That can be money, obviously, is a big one. Do you need to raise capital? Do you need a loan? Do you have money of your own? How much is going to need what are you going to need just to start operating? Do you need people on day one? Software? There's all kinds of stuff. So definitely, dial in on what you do and don't need, the things you can do without. It's start lean. Start as lean as possible. Our thing was started in the back of a title company office for, I think, maybe $500 rent per month, and the founders, no employees. That's how it goes oftentimes.
Yeah, learn, read, educate yourself related to everything. My probably biggest piece of advice is pay somebody who's already knows what the heck they're doing. Pay them whatever they want in order for them to help you. It's such a fast track way. You can do it so much. You do it so much quicker. I know a lot of people don't want to spend money towards things, and there's certainly ways that you can do it without spending money, and you can bootstrap all of this. And I got that. But there's a few people and key guys that we've been involved in that are part of our sphere that we've paid real money to just to buy an hour of their time or a day of their time or a week of their time, or maybe even stuff on an ongoing basis. But it was worth every penny to just put money to it, knowing about who we are, that it doesn't matter what we're involved in, we'll get the most out of it and we'll get something out of it. So it always backed up. It always backed out. And to us, I'd rather spend money on something to fast track it than learn it the hard way.
Yeah, definitely. Shortcut everything you can, and a big one, like Jason was saying, is hook up with somebody who's been there already and can help you determine the resource that you're going to need, up front, instead of feeling your way through it, which many of us have done. Okay, number 3, prepare your personal finances. I was talking to a friend recently who has been actively paying off debt, saving money, making his own personal life leaner, cut down on living expenses, moving to a different place, like really preparing to launch his company. I think it's a really smart move, and he's doing it way ahead of time too. He probably started the process a year before his anticipated start date.
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest, you need confidence when you're going full thing, full freight ahead. So, I mean, at the end of the day, if you only have a few $1,000s saved up and you're quitting your job and you're going to run out of that money in 30 days, it's just not enough time to get a business started. So do what you got to do, set things up. Maybe your spouse works, maybe if you're younger, you move back in with your parents. Whatever the case is, doesn't really matter, but just make sure your financial situation's in a good spot. And like you said, go lean, cut back on expenses, whatever it has to do, because if you're worrying about a few bucks here and there, you're just not going to have the confidence to go at this like what you really need to.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's very much tied into number 4, which is get your mind right. Prepare your brain for battle. And getting your personal financial house in order is an important part of that. It'll take some of that mental stress off of you. And then get ready for the rest of it. I mean, you're going to be feeling your way through stuff that you don't know. Even one of the weird things about launching a company, in my opinion, when we started, you aren't even 100% sure what you should spend your time on. That comes to you over time and years and with coaching and all that, but you can just be work, hours. Is there a point to all this crap that I'm doing? And that's a tough thing to go through.
I think mindset's the most important thing. I mean, me personally, if I can't wrap my brain around how I think this is going to go, and let's be honest, the way I think it's going to go won't go the way I think it's going to go, but I need to at least feel my way through it. And there's times that, for instance, someone reached out and said, hey, we should really do this, this could be a good idea. And that could be a year ago, and I'm like, yeah, I wasn't feeling it at the time, my mind wasn't in that place. And then a year later, I'm like, hey, this is what we should be doing right now. And they're like, I told you that a year ago. Well, you're right, but it wasn't the right place or the right time for me a year ago. It was the right time for me now. So sometimes, it takes time to just mentally prepare for some of these things. Obviously, you don't want to be that person that just mentally overthinks everything and never takes action and never does anything. But on the other side of it, you do kind of have to map it out in your head and tell yourself this is the right time for me to do it, and move forward with it. But a mental mindset's hard, and that's a really hard part. And a lot of people can't mentally grasp or kind of vision this thing going and kind of looking into the future of how this is going to play out. That's really, really challenging for people. So if you can wrap your brain around it and get your mental mindset, you're way ahead of the game.
Yeah. A couple quick points on that just to clarify. One thing that you did say that is interesting is that it is 100% going to go different than you plan, and that's okay. Get ready for that. And 2, there's a fine line between preparing properly and overcomplicating. And it's hard to know exactly where you fall. And I think mentors and other people will help you in that regard. But yeah, you want to prepare well, how you should, but the paralysis of analysis, or whatever that's called, can slow you down. That can hinder you too, so I'd be careful of that. Okay, moving on, number 5, commit your plan to paper, set a firm date, and launch your company. Set it out into the future. Does it need to be a year, 6 months, whatever it may be? Just set a hard date, because it's just too easy to push it back. It's too easy to say, oh, I'm not quite there yet. Too easy to say, oh, I don't have the financing, or all of that. So like with everything else, plan out into the future and work backwards. So put that date on the calendar ASAP.
All goals, all everything. You can't make a goal. You can't make a goal of everything's got to be set in the future and work your way back. That's how you do goal setting. That's how they make movies, right? They do the ending first and they work all the way back to beginning. That's exactly. They figure out what the ending is. So it's just goals. It's just like all of this stuff. Figure out when your launch date's going to be, and you'll make it work, right? If you're an accountable person and you're going to hold true to it, and you say, obviously if you verbally say, oh yeah, I'm going to do this in like the month of February, or I'm going to do this in 2017, that's fine. But if you actually put on your calendar, you put on your Facebook thread, you tell your spouse, you tell a business partner, you do all of these things, and then you say, okay, I got 3 months to launch, boom. Now let's go back and figure out all these things that I need to do, and you put it to paper, and you hold yourself accountable. So much easier than doing it than just kind of fumbling your way through it, right? Setting the last date. So,
Yep.
Cool. Obviously, real curious to see, any plans of attack, or somebody who's recently started a business. Maybe comment below challenges you've had. We've been through it. We have a lot of friends and colleagues and people in our sphere that have been through it as well. So hopefully we can kind of overcome either some challenges you may have, or just maybe some questions that you have related to, well, I'm here and I'm not sure what the next step is. Between us or our community, happy to share any advice that we have. So feel free to comment below related to that.
Yeah, let us know what you think, and we'll keep people posted. We do have a couple friends launching companies in different industries this year, so that'll be cool stuff that we'll make sure to report back on.
As always, share, subscribe, comment, and all those good things out in social world. Thanks, guys.